Hello everyone and welcome to QualityOldHomm. Today we are making another tier list, this time from tier 2 units in Heroes of Might and Magic 3 Horn of the Abyss expansion. And the tier list is based on kind of single player setting, so the results might differ a bit in multiplayer. In addition to the fighting capabilities, also the requirements and unit cost and special abilities are taken into consideration. And in the background is working my How Good Is series, and those results affect this rating as well. But without further ado, let's begin and, well, I guess we need to lay foundations at the bottom of the tier list. First we have Walking Dead, and I think it's perhaps the worst unit in the entire game. So yeah, to the lowest end of D tier, clearly. I mean, the unit is really slow. It doesn't actually do that much in battle. One could say that they can act as a meat shield, but I don't really see much utility in that. So yeah, clearly the worst unit in the entire game. And of course that slow speed means that your hero will move slower in the campaign map and so on and so forth. So yeah, at the bottom of D tier. Then we have Zombies, a bit higher speed, a bit higher stats. I think it tells also quite a bit from Walking Dead that also the upgraded variant belongs to D tier. I mean, still among the worst units in the entire game. So yeah, that I think the nicest buff is the bit higher speed, but still the unit is just absolute trash. Then we have Gogs. Tier 2 ranged unit is rather always nice, and since it's kind of early game unit, and I think tempo in the early game is essential. So with ranged units you will be able to fight against some neutral creeps without suffering any casualties. So that's clearly a bonus for this unit in the campaigns and scenarios and so on and so forth. However, as a ranged unit, this unit is actually really bad in my opinion, but since it's practically the only ranged unit that Inferno gets, or rather this tier 2 unit, unupgraded and upgraded variant, and you can get some kind of tempo going, I think it actually deserves a place in B tier, but perhaps on the weakest end of B tier or perhaps strongest C. But let's put them on the B at least for now. Then we have Air Elementals. I mean, the unit is fast, and it has rather large variation in damage. So if you can cast Bless, the unit will benefit tremendously. If opponent has these and you cast Curse, then you will benefit quite a bit. But I think Air Elemental benefits from the fact that the game has tried to make all 4 elementals rather balanced, or rather equally balanced. Thus, the lower tier elementals are really good for their tier, whereas the higher tier elementals are really bad for their tier. So I guess that says pretty much of it. So I think mostly due to the high stats and especially due to the high speed, Air Elementals deserve a place in strongest A tier. Perhaps I should consider even putting them on the weaker side of S tier, but let's put them to A for now. Then we have Magogs. Yeah, upgraded shooter variant with fireball effect, that's really nice. Whereas Gogs, in my opinion, are on the weaker end of B tier. I think these guys actually do deserve a place in strongest B, perhaps weakest A. But still, I think if the unit didn't have that fireball effect, it would be really bad. But because of that fireball effect, I think, well, let's put it strong B for now at least. Then we have Storm Elementals, I mean upgraded variant for Air Elemental. Yeah, the unit is strong, it's fast, it's shooter, it has high range of damage, so it can benefit from Bless. in my opinion, the only downside is that it actually gets a melee penalty. So if the enemy can close the gap to this unit, it will actually perform worse than air elementals, which is rather interesting. But still, I think solid S tier for storm elementals. The only kind of minus is that melee penalty, which the unit has. Then we have archers. I mean, yeah, I guess pretty much the same applies as to Gogs and Magogs. Yeah, the unit is kind of squishy, and you should try to conserve these so that you can get the upgraded variant, which is quite a bit better. But as it is, I think only the weaker end of B tier is for it. Yeah, you can get the tempo advantage with this one, but you could get quite a bit more with the upgraded variant, so that's the reason for the low B for this unit. Then we have Battle Dwarves. What I don't like in this unit is that they are rather slow, and they slow down your hero in the campaign map. Then again, when they get to battle, they are rather sturdy, and of course that magic resistance can be nice at times, but mainly because of the slow speed, I think they deserve a place only in B tier. In the actual battle, the unit is rather solid, but it has some difficulties getting in there. So that's the reasoning behind B tier. Then we have Boars. Yeah, I actually thought this might be one contender for the worst unit in the game, but it seems it's not quite bad enough, but still bad enough for D tier. So yeah, the unit is kind of glass cannon without cannon part, so it doesn't do that much damage, and it gets taken down really easy. Of course, the speed is nice, but combined with rather poor fighting capabilities, it doesn't bring that much benefit. So yeah, D tier for me. Then we have crewmates. I mean, kind of average unit in every aspect. It doesn't do that well in tests, so, and it doesn't have great speed or anything like that, so I think C tier for it is rather okay, and it didn't do that well in tests, so yeah, C tier. Then we have dwarves. I mean, they suffer from the same thing as battle dwarves, albeit a bit more. Then again, when these guys get into battle, they can do rather okay there, and the growth can be rather high when you get that extra building to boost the population growth there. So I think B tier, in battle they do okay, but the slow speed, it really hurts them. So that's the reason behind lower end of C tier. Then we have engineers. In my opinion, they are not great unit in battle, despite that breath attack. But what makes them valuable for factory is that they can repair machines or mechanical units. So you can get quite a bit more of your automatons or dreadnoughts or something like that with these units. And that's the reason, perhaps the only reason, I will give these guys a strong B. If it was based on fighting capabilities alone, they would get tops C, but that special ability is really important for them, so strong B. Then we have Harpies. I mean that hit and run tactics can be rather nice for them, but when the enemy gets the retaliation and you don't have anything to kind of soak up that retaliation, Harpies actually are not that good in my opinion, and they did do quite poorly in the tests. So this is one unit that benefits really much from the upgrade, and in my opinion you shouldn't actually use the unupgraded variant, just save them for the upgraded version, and as it did do quite poorly in battle, I think I will give it only D. Perhaps this might be a bit controversial, but still only D in my books. Then we have Harpyhawks, and as I was talking about the huge performance gap, no non-retaliation unit is really nice. It has high speed, it does that hit and run, or rather strikes at the enemy and then flies back to its original starting position. So one could argue that it's almost like ranged unit, and of course without melee penalties or something like that. So a really solid one of the best tier 2 units in the game, in my opinion, and it did perform really well in the test, so clearly S tier unit. Then we have Leprechauns. Actually, quite often the neutral units are really underperforming compared to the kind of actual units you can get from the settlements or castles and so on and so forth. But Leprechauns seem to be a bit of an exception. So they seem to have relatively decent damage, and of course that's buffing the friendly tropes luck can be rather nice in some situations. So I think they might be actually okay, so solid B tier, and the speed isn't that bad either, so yeah, I think they deserve a place in B tier, which is rather impressive for a neutral unit. Then we have Lizard Warriors. About that tempo advantage, so ranged unit once again doing great. And Lizard Warriors do have rather nice stats. So actually I think if they go head to head, for example with Wolf Raiders, these guys might actually win if they can get at least one decent shot off before engaging. So a sturdy unit, especially for a missile unit. So rather high defense, rather nice HP, and of course the attack value is rather nice as well. So in my opinion it belongs to A tier. Then we have Lizard Men. Not quite as good as Lizard Warriors, but still I think decent enough. Of course slow speed kind of hampers them a bit. So I'm kind of wondering if something like B tier for them. Let's put them over here. Of course they are rather easy to get, relatively cheap, so that's really nice. And yeah, in battle they can do okay. Then we have Marksmen. And well, when you get archers with double attack, with higher speed, that's really nice. And speaking of that tempo advantage, I think this unit clearly deserves a place in A tier. It can carry castle in the early creeping stage of the game, in my opinion, rather nicely. But of course, the downside is that the unit is glass cannon, so if anyone can hit it back, it will suffer quite easily. So because of that, it has to be defended, and it loses its value as the game progresses. Because, well, the enemies are able to hit it easier and thus take it down, as it doesn't have much HP. Then we have Mechanics. Kind of, yeah, they are the unupgraded variant of Engineers. In battle, not that good, and their special ability is not that good either. Though, once again, repairing some of the mechanical units can be rather nice. So I think without that ability they would go to the lower end of C tier, if not to D tier, but as they have that ability, I think high C is quite decent for them. Then perhaps a bit controversial choice. Obsidian Gargoyles, and based on the how good is testing, they actually go straight to S tier. And I think the main reason for this, or rather it has two main reasons. One is that there is that Sculptor's Wings that boost the population growth, so the unit has rather high numbers. And second, it has rather high speed. Even though it does not have that good stats in battle, but that speed kind of compensates quite a bit. Furthermore, the unit is on the more expensive side, but still, if one considers its performance in the tests, I think it deserves a place in S tier. But you may share your thoughts in the comments below if you agree or disagree. Then we have Rogues, In battle they feel like tier 1 unit, so battle-wise they would belong clearly to the D tier. They are trash in battle, but they have that scouting ability which can be rather useful, and based on that scouting ability alone they get a place in C tier. Let's put them perhaps on the lower end because they are just horrible in battle. So C tier for rogues. Then we have seamen, kind of the... whereas crewmates were average all-arounders, I think these guys are actually good all-arounders, so A tier for them. They do perform quite nicely in the tests when they get into battle. Of course the speed could be a bit higher, and the unit doesn't have any special abilities, but still I think it is decent enough, and I think one of the main reasons is that you get rather high growth of them. So of course that means more money spent, but still decent unit in my books. Then we have stone gargoyles. Yeah, they have high numbers, but they don't have that great speed as obsidian gargoyles, and they don't have that great stats either. Of course they can be rather useful in the early game. Well, perhaps that's relative as well. I think I will give them C tier. They're not that good, but at least the relatively high speed can keep your hero moving in the early game. So I think it's a better choice than stone golems, for instance, so you can keep your army moving. Of course, there are master gremlins, so they are relatively slow, but yeah, I mean, C tier for them. Then we have wolf riders. Another unit where you should wait for the upgraded variant. I mean, the unit is really glass cannon, and as it's melee unit, that's glass cannon, and it actually didn't have the cannon part, so it doesn't hit that hard. I think it deserves a place in D tier. So once again, just wait until you can get wolf raiders, which are actually decent enough glass cannons. So basically you just need to kind of take the retaliation out of the enemy before using this unit, so you can land those double hits. Of course, if you hit and the enemy retaliates, these units will suffer quite heavy casualties, so you just keep in mind that they are glass, made of glass. But as they deal quite nice damage, I think they deserve a place in A tier over here. So let's see, we had some question marks regarding should, for example, air elementals be on S tier. I mean, if obsidian gargoyles are, perhaps they should be 2. Let's have them there, and then we had some other question marks. But I guess I can live with that. I hope you can too. So, this is my view of tier 2 units in Heroes of Might and Magic 3 Horn of the Abyss. What do you think? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you agree or disagree? And thank you very much for watching the video. If you liked the content, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Have a great rest of the day. QualityOldHomm out.